Update, folks, for the month of September. Some stats and thanks coming your way. Some rugby news about match fixing, injuries, favourites, all that kind of good stuff. It has been a busy month in the month of September. Still, very good time to be a rugby fan with the World Cup on. It's been busy, but it's been fantastic. There's been so many cracking games and teams and players that we don't usually get to see. It's only once every 4 years, so basically enjoy it while it's here, because we are already more than halfway through the amount of games that are going to be played at this World Cup. So still got the big kind of knockout games to come, but as I said, it'll be really over before you know it. Some stats and thanks for the month. Ireland against South Africa. That was a very, very, very popular topic, kind of unsurprisingly, with how just massive that game was and how close it was. A lot of people tuned in for that one. If we're looking for the stats on the channel for September, man, top viewers are from South Africa, UK, Ireland, Australia, and New Zealand. So that's often the kind of the big markets. Interesting to see Australia more than New Zealand. People often saying how, the Aussies don't care about their rugby anymore and it's all about league and AFL. I'm sure not all those Aussie viewers are expat Kiwis over in Australia. I guess part of it with Eddie Jones's dramas has maybe seen more Aussies tuning in as well. But we will see what happens with the Aussie situation when we know the Fijian result. But yeah, what else have you guys been watching? You've been watching Rugby Pass, the Rugby World Cup channel, it's World Rugby's channel, Virgin Media, Egg Chasers, and Rugby Pod. So there you go. That's what everyone's been watching throughout the month. 91% dudes. And as always, if you haven't subscribed, feel free to subscribe. It would certainly help us out. Speaking of helping out, big thanks to the patrons who support the channel every month. I will scroll their names in this kind of reel of glory there. Special thanks to Angus, Matt, and to Jack for your support. And we also had a few new people sign up, and Shane, David, Blair, Tenacity, whatever you like, Timothy, Matt, it's a different Matt, Gregor, Sean, Alfie, and Matthias. So cheers to all you folks for signing up. Done a few extra videos for the old Patreon. Did a review of some of like these Rugby World Cup jerseys that I've got hanging up, which is always a bit of an interesting one. I do plan to do a jersey ranking at some point, but my kids are on school holidays literally through that door. Keeping remarkably quiet, which is always a little bit suspicious when I can't hear them at all. But I did ask them to be quiet, so maybe they are just being good children. But they are back to school next week, thankfully. Also next week, well, even tomorrow, I'm going to be 40. Birthday boy tomorrow. Can hardly call it a boy when I'm chasing down a big 4 and a 0. So, yes, this is the last video you'll get to see of his dude sitting in front of a whiteboard in his 30s, unless somebody else starts a rugby channel in front of a whiteboard and they're in their 30s. But for this face, turning 40 tomorrow. So, yes, as always, cheers for your support, guys. Sitting along watching this 39-year-old fella throughout the month. It means a lot. It's great to see all your comments and the likes and subscriptions and whatnot. Just the bants in the comments is genuinely really good. So hopefully we got more cool stuff to come up. Also, special thanks to all the people who did the Buy Me a Coffee thing. I'll put a link down in the description to that as well. Heaps of people have done that in recent times as well, which is very, very generous of you all with, the cost of living and whatnot being what it is. What can I say? It means a lot. Some news, match fixing. There's a potential scenario with Pool B that South Africa doesn't make it, but it's the only one of, there's a graph or an image that somebody mocked up that somebody produced. Rassi Erasmus helpfully brought some attention to it of all the possible permutations for Pool B. Most of them see Scotland going out. There's a few that see Scotland going in and Ireland going out, and there's one that sees Scotland and Ireland going through and South Africa going out. But it requires Scotland getting a bonus point win, Ireland getting a bonus point loss, and losing by 21 points or more, which seems incredibly unlikely. Jacques Nienaber was asked in a press conference about it in French through a translation, and he dismissed it. He still answered it to a vague degree. He basically just said, well, that would be match fixing, and that's not what rugby's about. But it still kind of gathered a fair few headlines, but it is absolute nonsense. If you've only ever read the headlines, about something about match fixing, it's nonsense. It's been absolutely dismissed. So, yes, it's a bit of a non-story, that one, thankfully. Injuries, well, obviously, the big news for South Africa was that Makazole Mapimpi has got a fractured eye socket from the collision with Augustine Pulu in that match against Tonga. So there was a bit of a, who will they pick? Will they go with Joseph Dweba? No, they seem pretty happy with Bongi, with Dion, and with Marco van Staden as their hookers. So they've recalled Lukhanyo Am. I mean, if you're looking at like who's the better player between Lukhanyo Am and Joseph Dweba, it's a non-decision. I mean, my thoughts were maybe they'll go for a hooker because it's a little bit shaky. But I guess Dion's performance, getting man of the match against Tonga, means they're pretty happy with how he's going to go. And as I said, Lukhanyo Am is legit one of the best players in the world, whereas Joseph Dweba is not one of the best players in the world, just to speak facts. So different positions, different skill sets, but yeah. If you're going to pick a player for your squad, why not pick one of the best players in the world who could genuinely be a difference maker going into the knockout stages, assuming Scotland don't knock them out with a 21-plus victory and Ireland get a losing, 4-try bonus point. Other injuries, Dupont, they said they're going to make, I think they said he's progressing well, but they're still going to check in he's going to miss the Italy game, but yeah, he should be all right for the quarterfinals is the news that's been kind of trickling out. If he is back, then that is absolutely phenomenal news because it looked for a while like it might be his tournament over, but fingers crossed he is back. For Wales, Dan Biggar, they are calling his injury still only a slight one. He is going to miss the game against Georgia. But yeah, having all these guys back, having Lukhanyo Am back is great news. I feel for Mapimpi, but Lukhanyo Am being back is great news. Hopefully Dupont's fit. Hopefully Biggar gets fit. There will be more injuries to come, but that just is what it is. Who are the Rugby World Cup favourites at the moment? Well, the bookies that I've looked up have got 3 teams as joint favourites, and that's France, Ireland, and South Africa. They're all joint favourites with New Zealand kind of 4th, not too far behind, and then by some distance it's England and then Wales. So those are your favourites. Things have shifted a little bit from prior to the World Cup where it was France 1 and then New Zealand 2, and then for a while it was France and New Zealand first equal. Ireland has certainly gotten a lot more money put on them in recent times. So, yeah, that's always going to be one to watch to see if there's any kind of good value in there for the old betting. But, yeah. Also, if you're looking for some non-rugby stuff between now and then, it's kind of linked to rugby in that one of the videos I was wearing a Leinster jersey. Went through a Chinese beer museum, which was not really a beer museum. If you haven't checked that out, feel free to check it out. Also, while I was in China, I went to a sports stadium, and there was an old fella whose chair that he sat on broke, and then he spent a good 30 seconds just cursing the world and how the organisers put a faulty chair there to try and kill him. Something of an overreaction, but I guess it's not nice to sit on a chair and have it collapse beneath you. So if you want to check out either of those things, I'll put a link to the old 2 Cents on Tour, which is a different channel. It's not rugby related. Not really. It's more travel. And this fella, who in his 30s was going to talk to some Chinese people in Chinese and hopefully investigate some interesting spots. So check it out up in the corner or in the description. But yeah, as always, folks, cheers for your support, for viewing and subscribing and liking and all the jazz that YouTube algorithm stuff likes, but mostly just for sharing the rugby love during the Rugby World Cup. As I said, it is the best time to be a fan. I'll see you when I'm 40 tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.